All right, today we're going to talk about something that's, well, it's often overlooked, but it might just be one of the most powerful tools you have in your arsenal. We're talking about silence.
I mean, think about it. We live in a world that just seems to reward the loudest voice in the room, right? We're constantly told, speak up, be assertive, make yourself heard. The idea is that the first person to talk, the loudest one, is the person who wins.
But what if that's all wrong? What if the most powerful person in the room is actually the quietest? What if the real advantage isn't in speaking first, but in knowing exactly when not to speak at all? Now that's the idea we're going to dig into.
Okay, so first things first, we need to completely reframe how we think about this. Silence isn't just, a void or an absence of sound. When you use it right, it's an active, powerful strategy. And this is the key. Strategic silence, it's intentional. It's a calculated move you make to control the whole vibe of a conversation, maybe to get the other person to reveal a little too much, or even just to make your own words land with more impact. It's like a shield and a weapon, all at the same time. And look, we've got to be clear about something. We've all been in that super uncomfortable, awkward silence, right? That's just a communication breakdown. That's not what we're talking about. What we're aiming for is the pregnant pause. That's the one that's full of meaning. It's deliberate, and it shows everyone that you are completely in control.
All right, so we get what it is, but why does it work so well? What is going on inside our brains that makes this so effective? Let's get into the psychology behind it.
This is actually pretty wild. Humans, we are just hardwired for social back and forth. It's called reciprocity. So when you stay quiet, you create this communication vacuum. And for most people, that void is so uncomfortable, they feel this overwhelming psychological need to fill it. And in their rush to do that, they often end up oversharing, spilling secrets, information, or even making concessions they never meant to.
So that's what's happening to them. But what about you? What's going on inside your brain? Well, when you force yourself to pause instead of just blurting something out, you're basically hitting an emergency brake on your emotions. You're shifting power from your amygdala, that's your reactive fight-or-flight center, over to your prefrontal cortex, your logic and reason hub. It's the difference between saying something you'll regret 5 seconds later and delivering a cool, calculated, strategic response.
Okay, so that's the science, but let's bring this into the real world. How does this actually play out in high-stakes situations? Because this is where silence goes from being just a cool concept to a seriously powerful tool.
You know, there's this old saying in negotiation circles, and it's basically the golden rule. It goes like this: the first person to speak after a proposal loses. Think about that. You put your offer on the table, or they put theirs, and then you just wait. The pressure to talk, to justify, to give a little ground, it all shifts to them. It's brilliant. And this isn't just for negotiations. The applications are everywhere. In a negotiation, yeah, it's the silent counter. But for a leader, speaking less makes your words carry so much more weight, and it actually empowers your team to think for themselves. In a crisis, it buys you precious, precious time to get your facts straight before you say something wrong. And in diplomacy, it's a way for two sides to make concessions without publicly losing face.
And hey, this isn't some new age corporate buzzword or some trick from a modern business book. Throughout history, some of the most effective and powerful leaders were absolute masters of the pause.
I mean, just take a look at this list. You've got Abraham Lincoln, who used silence between his election and inauguration to avoid getting cornered in a political minefield. Mahatma Gandhi observed a day of silence every single week, using it to gain the mental clarity he needed to lead a massive movement without just reacting to everything. Steve Jobs, he was famous for these long, almost painful pauses in meetings that would force his engineers to dig deeper and find better solutions. And then there's George H.W. Bush. When the Berlin Wall fell, he made a conscious choice not to gloat. That silence probably prevented a dangerous backlash from the Soviets.
Okay, so we've seen just how powerful this can be. But hang on, before you run off and try to be the silent one in every conversation, you have to understand this is a double-edged sword. You get it wrong and it can backfire big time.
Yeah, the line here is incredibly fine. If you use it poorly, your silence doesn't come across as powerful, it comes across as arrogant. It's not seen as strategic, it's seen as passive-aggressive. Or maybe worst of all, people might just think you're incompetent, that you're quiet because you literally have nothing to say.
And really, this is the most important takeaway of all. For your silence to be strategic, it has to be present. You have to maintain eye contact. Your posture has to be engaged.
You have to communicate non-verbally that your silence is an active choice, not a mental slip-up. It's in that moment, that's when silence stops being an empty space and becomes a field of power. Master that, and you've mastered one of the most subtle yet profound tools of communication there is.